two sisters who believe that the purpose of life is to enjoy, create, and have fun. We believe that as humans, we can have anything we want, and things are always working out for us. Experience has taught us that the path to getting everything we want begins with ease. If you believe in miracles and happily ever after, or even if you just want to, then this is the podcast for you. Hi there, I'm your host, Kayla Rain.
And I'm your co-host, Adria Shea.
And welcome back to Attract It with Ease. Hello, Adria. How are you?
I'm still good, Kayla. It's great to talk to you.
Good. Well, I can't wait to hear about your gratitude today. I know you just kind of wrapped some things up with your job. So tell us what you're grateful for today and why.
Well, I am grateful to live so close to the mountains. I love the mountains. I feel like they're just, right next door when I'm in Utah. And so I appreciate them, I think, almost every time I see them. But I have not seen them for the last 3 weeks. I've been away from Utah. And I am just really, really glad to have such a beautiful view.
Oh, I miss the mountains in Utah too. I think that every time I come back and visit.
I know if I could just transplant them to all the other places I want to live, it would be perfect. I am also grateful for airplanes because I was able to get from Florida to Utah in one very long, exhausting day. But I mean, how crazy is that you can go from one end of the country almost all the way to the other side of the country in a day? So I just think it's amazing.
That is incredible.
And then I'm grateful for my eyesight. I am grateful for my eyesight for so many reasons, so I can appreciate and see the mountains from the comfort of my home and not having to be hiking them to appreciate them. But, just for reading and for art and so many things that I haven't even thought of that I use my eyesight to appreciate.
I'm sure you use your eyesight for everything. That's a good one,
yes,
though.
I do.
I think that, just the basic necessities of life, and I say necessities, obviously there's people that don't have sight and they get by, but I think just the things that we just experience every single day, it's so easy to take them for granted. So I like that one. That's a good one. So I have a few things I'm grateful for today. And the first one's going to be a big surprise because I haven't told anyone.
Wow. You should have told me first. You should have told me 5 minutes
well,
ago.
officially, you are the first.
Okay, I'll take it.
I got a new car yesterday.
Are you serious? Wow.
I'm serious. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. I loved my Jeep. I've talked about it. It was something I had manifested for a while, but as I mentioned on previous episodes, it was used and it just started acting a little bit quirky. It wasn't anything major. There were repairs that we did on it over the last year and it's been running really well, but it's got almost 130,000 miles on it and it's just getting up there. And I saw an opportunity and seized it and I traded in. That's what I'm trying to think of, my Jeep for a new car, a new used car, new to me, but it's beautiful and I'm so excited. So I'm grateful for that today.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. The next thing I've been thinking about is, and I might have mentioned this before, but I'm so grateful for clean sheets. Do you know, it's like one of my favorite feelings in the whole world is to be freshly showered, freshly shaved legs, and brand new, never slept in clean sheets to climb in bed and have them like perfectly smooth and I feel clean. And that's one of the best feelings in the world. And I'm so grateful for clean sheets.
That is a great one.
And then the third one I have today is I'm grateful for Venmo. And I might have said this one before, but Dan, my fiance, and I, we share bills, and meaning we have our own money, but we split our expenses of living together. And so there's times when he has to send me money for something, or I have to send him money for something because it's on the other person's card or whatever, just the way that we work it out. And it's so convenient to be able to just instantly send money back and forth and have it right away if you want. And I just think that's an incredible invention that has only been around for a few years. And I am so grateful for that convenience in life.
That is awesome. And you know what? I must not have told you, but when I went to Florida, my Venmo stopped working.
What?
And I contacted them And they basically just said, sorry, there's nothing we can do. So life was really inconvenient because even though I had some cash and I had some cards, I was with a group of people and we split the fare almost every time we went places. One person would pay for something and everyone else would Venmo. And I had made arrangements to pay some of my bills via Venmo.
Oh no.
So for 3 weeks, I did not have that service. And I have never appreciated it as much as I did when I got home and it started working again.
Look at that. Look at how instead of being frustrated and upset, you actually appreciated it when you got home and ta-da, it started working. I love it. Well, that last little bit of what you just said kind of leads into today's episode because today what I want to talk about is faith versus fear. And conceptually, it's an easy concept to wrap your mind around. But I really believe that even those of us that are trying to use the law of attraction to our benefit have a tendency to self-sabotage. We have situations come up in life. Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation and we start freaking out and start thinking the worst, or we start having fearful thoughts. Other times, the thing hasn't even happened yet, but we hold ourselves back from taking risks or making decisions or moving forward in life because we start having these fearful thoughts. So, Adria, just tell me, just in general, do you ever have fearful thoughts about things not working out?
I was going to say, are you saying that this is common to all humans or are you reading my mind? That's what I was thinking when you were talking.
Both.
I
No,
do this far too often.
I've been thinking about it a lot because obviously I'm always working on the law of attraction. I'm so passionate about it. I believe in it. I've seen crazy miracles. I've experienced the ability to create and manifest the things that I want in my life. I know that firsthand. And yet I still struggle with questioning whether or not something will work out or whether or not I should do something or thinking about worst case scenario. And that is one of the things with fear that I want to mention is that when we think about something and we think about all the what ifs that could happen, we always tend to focus on worst case scenario, and worst case scenario almost never happens, like almost never. And I think about that sometimes that even if something doesn't work out like perfectly, it's it's almost never the worst thing we could have imagined. It's almost always better than what we thought. And as we've talked about on the podcast a number of times, when the universe answers your request, almost always that answer is far better than what we could have imagined. So it's funny how things work on like both extremes. It's like when we're thinking about something that we want and we start having fearful thoughts, we think about the very worst. But then when it actually works out, it works out like even better than we could have imagined. And so it's this huge contrast. And I think that's really something to focus on and pay attention to, and also recognize the miracles and things in our lives that have worked out or things that have turned out far better than we could have imagined, because that helps us have faith in the situations where we are a little bit fearful or we are self sabotaging if we can think back to those experiences. So I'm going to share some of mine today. But before I get into that, I want to talk about some of the scenarios that I've been dealing with recently where I've maybe had fearful thoughts. And then, Adria, you can share some things if you want of things maybe you've had some fearful thoughts about. Maybe you're still having that. Maybe you're still going through it, or maybe there are things in your past. But I was thinking about some of mine. And just one example is buying a car yesterday. There were all these things that I kept thinking. I thought, okay, I'm turning in or trading in my Jeep. What if they do a mechanical inspection and they find something wrong with it? Because it's like I said, it's been acting kind of quirky. And it's like, well, what if there's something wrong and I don't even know about it? And what if I can't get what I think it's worth? And you start having
Mm-hmm.
these fears, kind of like, oh, I don't know. Should I just write it out? What if there's something seriously wrong? What if? It's, so that's one area. Then it's kind of like, oh, they're going to run my credit. What if I get a terrible interest rate? What if I can't afford the payment? What if I'm super embarrassed because I actually was buying a car through my work? So it's like, what if the person helping me, like, I'm totally embarrassed by the credit decision that I get back? What if, I haven't even had my credit run yet. I'm just thinking about it, going, oh, I don't know. What if I should do this? What if it's embarrassing? What if it turns out terrible? All these things, what if I don't even get approved? All of those things going through my mind. And that was just yesterday. But I've also been planning a wedding, and I've been thinking about all of the what ifs and the fearful thoughts that I have had or even could have had because the situation is so many details. For example, we're getting married in Yosemite, so we had to apply for permits. And I did apply for permits, but I haven't received a decision back yet. And when I say permits, it's not permits to enter the park, it's permits to have photography in the park. So I've applied for the permits. It's a non refundable fee. You pay it whether you're approved or not. And they've cashed my check, but it's been like 2 months and I still haven't heard whether or not we get permits. So it's kind of,
Interesting.
well, what if we don't get our permits? We're planning this whole wedding, but what if it doesn't work out? What if we're declined? What if they've already given out the permits? So that's one example. The fact that we're getting married in Yosemite, we want to use a local photographer, but someone that we've never used before. We've only seen their work online. So it's kind of like, well, what if I don't like my pictures? What if the weather's bad? We're getting married in October. What if it's bad weather? What if it rains? What if it's, all these things, we're doing an outdoor elopement. What if there's all these things you can think about? What if it snows? The two areas that we're supposed to get married in will be closed if it snows. I say two areas getting married in, two areas where one we're getting married in, one we're taking pictures in. But these are the what ifs that kind of come into place that can keep us frozen. I mentioned that I ordered a custom wedding dress off Etsy. Well, I'm putting a lot of faith out there that this is going to fit me. Now I sent in my measurements, but it's kind of like, well, what if I put on weight? What if it's sewn wrong? What if it can't be altered? What if it's too small? What if all these things, And these are the things that come up in life where we have an opportunity to move forward. Things could work out for us. And more often than not, they do. And when they do, they work out far better than we could have imagined. But we have a tendency to go into these situations where we have these fearful thoughts. Adria, can you relate to any of that? Do you have any of those kind of experiences?
Oh my gosh, yes. My most recent one, of course, is work related. I was conflicted about leaving a job that I really enjoyed for a job that I wanted to try. And even after I made the decision, I kept thinking, well, what if I don't like it? Well, what if I can't get my old job back? Well, what if the person that they hired doesn't do as good and everybody blames me for leaving? And so on and so forth. I mean, some of them were pretty ridiculous, but I had a whole dialogue.
Yeah, it happens. And it could be little things like what if I'm not selected? What if I show up late? What if they show up late? It could be a blind date or meeting someone that you've been talking to online and they're running late. And you could just automatically, what if they're standing me up? What if they don't like me? What if they're
Yeah.
not who they said they were? What if I'm totally being catfished? It's funny how we find ourselves in these situations. And instead of just hoping for the best or having faith or thinking that everything's working out, we instantly go into this mode of fear and we focus on worst case scenario. Well, when we talk about the law of attraction, if we're focused on worst case scenario, what do you think we're attracting?
I think it's interesting because I'm applying this to myself, like always, every time you're saying these things. And I'm thinking, I really believe that things are always working out for me. And I have evidence of so many things that have worked out for me. And so, why is my default often all the ways it might possibly not work out when I really don't even have a lot of evidence pointing in that direction? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's kind of
totally.
crazy.
It is crazy. And I do think that's human nature. So I want to share some of the miracles that I've experienced where I could have had fearful thoughts, or maybe even started out having fearful thoughts and was able to shift my thinking, and some of the amazing, incredible things that have resulted from it. Just like you said, you have all this evidence of things that have worked out for you. I'm sure even our listeners, if they really took some time to think about it, probably have their own experiences of things that could have turned out really bad that actually worked out well for them or even better than they could have imagined. So, one or two of these I may have mentioned on the podcast, but I think I might, I know I mentioned this to you, Adria. I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I had a package, something that I had ordered in the mail maybe like 2 months ago. And I had ordered it off Mercari. So it was like a private seller. It wasn't like a store or website kind of thing. So not your typical return policy, but it was a shelving system that I had wanted. And because it was shelving, it was kind of expensive shipping. And anyway, I'd spent like $180 on the shelf and the shipping, and it said it had been delivered and I hadn't received it. So I kind of started stressing about, oh my gosh, I have this missing package. How am I going to prove that I didn't really get it? And I'm not just trying to like get my money back, but I'm like, this was really expensive. I want to get my money back if I don't have the shelf because I really want the shelf. And it was this whole thing going back and forth. So then I filed the claim with Mercari, and they told me to file a claim with the shipping company. I try and file a claim with the shipping company, and they tell me I can't file a claim because it was shipped through Mercari. And so then I'm like, oh my gosh, am I even going to get my money? It was this whole thing. So then I decided, you know what? There's nothing I can do about this. I'm either going to get my money or I'm going to get the shelf or I'm not. One of those three things is going to happen. But no matter what happens, it's out of my control at this point because I've filed a claim. So I decided I'm not going to worry about it. I always have plenty of money. Why am I stressed about, $180? I'll be fine if it doesn't work out. And I just shifted my thinking about it. Well, it turned out that I did get my money back from Mercari. They refunded me. They believed me after it had been so many days and the package hadn't shown up. And the very next day, I got notification that it had been delivered 2 doors down.
Oh, wow.
So I not only got the shelf late, but I got it, but I also got all of my money back. I got completely refunded.
Wow.
It was far better than I could have imagined. But it was not until I shifted my thinking, like, you know what, I'm not going to stress about this. There's nothing I can do about it. And changed my vibration that things actually did work out for me. And it worked out, like I said, far better than I could have imagined. It was incredible. And so it was an extra $180 that, I hadn't planned on. Plus I got my shelf. It was awesome.
That's an awesome outcome.
So that was a good miracle. I've also mentioned that last year, I was training to be a train conductor. And when you go through that hiring process, you have to go through the same exam that you would if you were applying for your CDL, your commercial driver's license. And it's very detailed. You have to pass a hearing test and an eye exam, and they check your blood pressure. And there's just all of these pieces that you have to show as far as your physical health in order to be in charge of, multiple people besides yourself in a commercial setting. So after I had accepted the job, I had to go past this physical. And first of all, I knew my eyesight was going to be bad because I have worn glasses for years. I say have worn because I actually have not worn. I've needed glasses for years, but I had not had an updated prescription in probably almost 10 years. I had really stopped wearing my glasses because I felt like, oh, my eyesight isn't that bad. But over the years, it's gotten worse, and I've never spent the money to go back and get my prescription updated, or I hadn't last year up at this point. So I knew I needed to go get an eye exam, but I did not know if I was going to pass the eye exam, and I did not have the money to go get new glasses or update my prescription. So I was really kind of stressing about that piece. The other thing that I was a little bit concerned about, not initially, but when I got there to the doctor's office, was my blood pressure. Now, I have never been diagnosed with high blood pressure, but I have on a number of occasions gone to the doctor and had high blood pressure. So I don't know. It's possible that I should be diagnosed. I have not been. But when they took my pulse, my blood pressure, when I got there, that was one of the first things they did. It was off the charts. It was crazy. And it was probably because I was stressing about the eye exam. But my blood pressure was through the roof. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to be able to move forward with this. We're going to have to go do some of the other tests, and we'll come back, try and calm yourself down, just breathe, easily. We'll come back and we'll check your blood pressure later. So then we do these other things. We go through the eye exam, and I was not passing the exam. Like, I was so close, but like the last line that I had to read, I could not properly read. And here's where the miracle comes in. Please don't tell on this person. The girl doing my eye exam kind of cheated and helped me. She didn't pass me, but she kind of was like, is that an E? Where
That's
prompting
hilarious.
me, it's not an E. So it's like, oh, well, then it must be C, whatever. So she actually helped me pass where I would not have passed. And she obviously cautioned me. She's like, go get glasses because you're not going to pass if you have to, next time you have to go through this. And I obviously have. I've updated my prescription. I have glasses now. I could pass because you can wear glasses in order to pass, but I didn't have updated glasses to wear. So anyway, they go back, they test me for my blood pressure. It's still really high. Well, now that's really stressing me out because I'm like, what if the whole reason I do not pass this exam is because of my blood pressure? Well, obviously, while you're stressed, that's the worst thing for your blood pressure. So it was like, what can I do to bring my blood pressure down? The nurse, she'd taken it a few times. She's like, I'm only allowed to record 2 different readings. So I'm not going to write this down. I'm going to go grab the doctor. We're just going to, make sure that it's not the machine or whatever. She has me lay down, put my arm in the air, this whole thing. The doctor comes in, he takes it, it's still high. He tells me, calm down, whatever. And I really am like totally in my head at this point, like, how am I going to pass this? I'm freaking out. And I'm like, it just is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, I don't know if I passed. I don't know if my blood pressure came down or if the doctor just lied on my chart. He probably didn't because I like to believe that the doctors don't lie. But I
Me too.
barely passed on my blood pressure. So those 2 pieces, I actually passed the exam. Obviously, I'm not a train conductor, so you don't need to stress about me driving a train with high blood pressure. But it was enough that I got the job. I started the training and then all of the COVID stuff happened. But to me, that was an incredible miracle because there were 2 opportunities for me to not pass that physical. And in both opportunities, it worked out. The person assisting me kind of gave me a little bit of extra room, went above and beyond what they had to do in order to help me pass instead of just a black or white pass or fail. And I look at those kind of situations and those stories and I go, why in the world do we sit around and think about what if, when really, if we just have faith, there are so many opportunities for the universe to bless us and give us what we want. So those are just a couple of them. One other one that I'll throw in there during that same time when I found myself unemployed, Dan and I were buying our tiny house. We were making payments on it. We bought it from Dan's brother-in-law. We were paying him monthly and just, I was a little bit concerned. I'm not working. And then when I did get hired, it was, going to be a little bit before I got my first paycheck. And so we asked, hey, we hate to do this to you, but are you okay if we pay you late? And it was just an agreement among family. But we got this beautiful card in the mail and said, consider this a happy, like a congratulations or happy wedding gift and consider the tiny house paid off. And we still owed several $1,000s on it. And he just basically wiped our debt. He knew that I was in a financial struggle at the time. And he just said, look, congratulations on your wedding. This is my gift to you. And he basically wiped the rest of the debt for tiny house off. And so now we own our home free and clear. And to me, that's just an incredible miracle. And I know that we talk about miracles. I know I've shared a lot of things that I've manifested. That was something I wasn't even focused on. I wasn't trying to get him to do that. But it was just a time where instead of stressing about what could have happened or freaking out or trying to force something, trying to figure it out, going and getting a check loan or taking a title loan or something. There's ways that you can kind of try and save yourself in situations, but it's not up to us to figure out the how. The universe can take care of us if we have faith. And so that's really what I want to get into today. And Adria, the last story that I want to share is going to lead into how we came up with the music for the podcast. And that's that I've mentioned before that when I was living in Vegas, I had become unemployed and then I accepted a job in Sedona, Arizona. I was only unemployed for a short time, but I did not pay to update the registration of my car. So I had expired registration and it made me nervous to drive on this expired registration. Well, then I accepted a job in Sedona. We moved to Sedona and I thought, well, I'm not going to pay the registration in Nevada because I'm moving to Arizona. And as soon as I get to Arizona, I'm going to be expected to register my car there. So I thought I'll just drive to Arizona and just hope that I don't get pulled over on the drive and that, it's a non-issue, and I'll pay the registration once I start my new job in Arizona. So all of that's wishful thinking, and people are probably like mortified that I'm announcing all of my flaws and the things that I've done. But I did
All the
that. And
police officers are horrified.
yeah. And well, I'm like, okay, I am moving across states with an expired registration. And it had been expired for a few months. So it wasn't just like a couple days expired. It was pretty expired. Like it was obviously expired. If a police car pulled up behind me and looked at my license plate, they would have known it was expired. So before we left for the drive, I set my intention and I said, I'm going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We're going to arrive safely. There will be no issues. I just focused on having that positive outcome. So we drove and we got about maybe 45 minutes or an hour away from our new home. So we were in Arizona and a cop pulls up behind me. And I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Everything's fine. And then he pulls me over. I'm like, here we go. So again, I'm pulled over on the side of the road. I'm just telling myself things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to arrive safely. I keep kind of in my mind repeating the intention that I had set. And he comes up to the window. And of course, as cops normally do, it says, do you know why I pulled you over? Of course I did. And, he asks me, why is it expired? And I explain, and I said, I told him the truth. I've been unemployed. We're moving here for a new job. I knew I was going to have to register it in Arizona. That was my plan. I didn't want to have to pay to have it registered twice. I couldn't really afford it. He was the nicest cop. And he let me go with a warning on the promise that I would register it within 10 days of getting moved, because that is the law in Arizona, is that you have to update your address and register your vehicle within 10 days. He took me at my word, but he told me, and I did not know this before we went on the drive, that had he written me a ticket, it would have been over $600, that fine for driving on an expired registration in Arizona. And I about died, but I was so shocked and amazed at the same time that I had set my intention going into this trip that everything was going to be okay, and everything was okay. And I literally did get pulled over and everything was okay. And where this leads me to the song for the podcast is I have had so many situations, and again, some of them driving on expired registration or whatever, where I have had to talk myself into believing things were working out for me, like literally trying to shift my energy. That I've said this before. Sometimes I make up funny songs. I tend to sing to myself. I say things to myself, but I made up a song that I sing. I sing it all the time just for fun now. But initially, when I made it up, it was a way for me to shift my energy from those fearful thoughts to believing in positive things, to trying to have faith. And so I wrote this tiny little jingle or song that I sing to myself. That's my little theme song that's about how things are always working out for me. And I've been singing this song to myself for years, probably like, let me think about it, almost 4 years now, maybe a little over 4 years now. But I have been singing this song to myself. And any time that I start to feel stressed and I start to have these self-sabotaging, fearful thoughts, I remind myself of this song and I just start singing it. And it completely shifts my emotion. And it reminds me that things are always working out for me. And then it's funny because when we decided to do the podcast and we needed some podcast music, it just dawned on me, oh my gosh, I have a song. I have a song about how things are always working out for me. Like, why not have that be the music? And so, listeners, if you don't know, my fiance's son actually did the music for the podcast, but he used my jingle for the tune and he created the music for the podcast. And that's exactly where it came from. So, Adria, I'm going to embarrass myself and I'm just going to sing the jingle real quick here. So that our listeners can hear it and compare it to the music for the podcast.
Yes.
And then we'll kind of move into our action item unless you have some stuff you want to add. So let me share this song with our listeners and I'm a little bit tone deaf. Hopefully I get the tune right, but
You have a beautiful voice, Kayla.
okay, here we go. Good things are coming my way, some of them coming today. No need to worry, no need to stress. I'm in no hurry, 'cause I can attest. Things are always working out for me. So that is the song that was used to create the music for our podcast. And that is my little jingle that I sing to myself, is that when I catch myself having these what if fearful thoughts, and it could be, what if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if it doesn't work out? What if it arrives late? What if I'm not approved? What if anything? What if I'm not selected? What if he doesn't like me? What if it doesn't come in time? What if it breaks? All of these thoughts, when I catch myself having these fearful thoughts, I work on shifting my energy and I remind myself that I can set my intention and I can have what I want. And I'm determining what I'm attracting. And if I'm focusing on the fear, I'm attracting that negativity. If I'm focusing on the positive, it's not up to me to figure it out. I don't have to figure out how. I just have to believe. And I have to shift my energy. And I I've said this on other podcasts. I haven't said it yet today, but the universe does not speak in words. The universe is a vibrational universe. So it's matching our vibration. And if our vibration is fear, that's what we're attracting. If our vibration is hope, if our vibration is faith, if our vibration is belief, that's all positive, and that's what we're attracting. And that's where we have these miracles that come about for us, things that just work out for us. And so I really just want to encourage our listeners to catch themselves when they're having these negative thoughts and shift it and focus on having faith. Adria, do you have any experiences or thoughts on this that you want to share?
Gosh, not really. I mean, generally, I am trying to, this is how it usually works. I'm trying to make a decision. I'm coming from fear-based. That's where I'm rooted. And then I reach out to Kayla and she helps me shift my paradigm. And suddenly everything looks a little bit brighter. And then guess what? You're right. And things work out even better than I ever anticipated. So that's pretty much my story on repeat.
Well, I'm glad that I can, help you see the positive side of things, but it has nothing to do with me, and it has everything to do with you just shifting your thinking, and things are always working out for you. Everything is always working out for you.
It's true. It really is.
So that leads me to our action item for our listeners today. And that is, I want our listeners to come up with their own magical power statement or song like I did. You don't have to write a song, you don't have to write a jingle, but come up with something that you can say to yourself to shift your vibration and move from those fearful thoughts of what if to believing that things are always working out for you. And that could be your phrase. Maybe that's your phrase, but when you say it, you need to believe it. Things are always working out for me. And the first time you say it, you might not believe it, but if you repeat it over and over and over again, number one, it will shift your vibration from fear. But number two, you'll start believing it. And then if you start looking for evidence of it, like we've talked about, when you start acknowledging these miracles, these things that could have totally fallen apart for you, but they actually came together and things fell into place, that's when the magic happens. So again, the action item for our listeners is to come up with your own magic power statement or song to shift your vibration. And that statement could be as simple as, things are always working out for me. All right. So Adria, guess what? We do have a winner this week.
Oh, I'm so excited.
We do. We have a new review on Apple Podcasts. And I don't know how to say this username. I'm going to mess it up, so I'll spell it, but I'll try. It's really long. It's something like Davalamonem Taylor. I'm going to spell it out. DAEVLAAMNOEMYMTAYLOR. You're our listener. You're our winner. Thank you for your sweet review on Apple Podcasts. Adria, do you want to tell our listeners what I'm talking about when I say we have a winner this week?
Yes, we will draw a winner every week from those people who have submitted a review of our podcast, and the winner will receive a custom bracelet with their theme word of the year.
That's right. If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen to episode 1. Episode 1 is all about selecting a theme word for this year. And you know what, Adria? My theme word ties into this episode because if you remember, my theme word this year is fearless. And
I love it.
I do wear a bracelet with the word fearless on it. And I've been thinking about that a lot this year as I've had situations that I've been nervous about. I keep reminding myself, Kayla, you said you were going to be fearless this year, so suck it up. Things are always working out for you.
That's awesome.
So that's right. If you leave a review on our podcast, again, we need your username on the review so that we can select you as a winner. But we do select one winner a week to get a custom unisex theme bracelet with your theme word for the year. So, our winner from this week, send us an email at attractitwithease, hello@attractitwithease.com, and tell us your theme word for the year and your address, and we'll send that out to you. So, Adria, it was fun this week. Thanks for joining me. I can't wait for next week.
It was great. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye bye.